everyone, and thanks for watching today. My name is Jessie, and I'm the Marketing and Outreach Coordinator here at Bywater Solutions. And today we are going to talk to you about organization and isolation. We have two wonderful guests with us. Margaret Haid, welcome.
Hello.
And a very special guest, Robin Naughton. Hello, Robin.
Hello, hi.
So we have some tips for staying organized and productive while working from home. And we thought this would be a great time to share these with you. So we'll start essentially by giving you a little information about us. And as we jump into this, I will say that Margaret came up with this great idea about like staying organized. And all of us are working from home. So we thought this would be an awesome way to share it with you. So Robin, do you want to start and jump in?
Sure. Where do you want me to start?
Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay, so I work for the New York Academy of Medicine. I run the digital program there, and a lot of what I do is digitization and, really build out our digital collection for the library. In terms of working from home, I've worked from home in a variety of ways. In my current position, before COVID, I worked from home at least one day a week for the last few years. And prior to this position, I worked from home as a consultant. So I did a lot of consulting work for a number of years, and I worked from home for most of that work. So I'm really excited to share some tips on what you do to just kind of enjoy the work from home, because I love working from home. So,
yeah,
do anything like that.
Wonderful. Thank you. Margaret?
Yes, thanks, Jessie. So I'm a support lead with Bywater Solutions, and I've been in this position for about 2.5 years. And that whole time I've been working from home. And a little bit like Robin, in my previous jobs, work from home very occasionally, but I really learned how to do it since I started working with Bywater Solutions support department.
And my name is Jessie, and sometimes you'll hear Jay-Z, and sometimes you'll hear me call Margaret Mag, so we'll just give you that little introduction. I've been working at Bywater Solutions for about 4.5 years, and that was all a work from home experience. And at my previous position, I worked for a consortia in Tampa Bay, Florida, and we started out in an office and then transitioned to working from home. So it's been quite a few years for me working in this environment. So we're excited to share some of our thoughts and ideas with you.
Mm-hmm. So the first idea we want to talk about is minimalism. Minimalism as a sort of thought exercise. If this is your first experience working from home, or first long-term experience working from home, instead of just the occasional days around holidays or stepping out for a few days, but usually you're in an office environment. And for me, when I first started, and even if I'm traveling, seeing family, I want to drill down my kit that I need to work for Bywater into just my essentials. And I know for me, that's my laptop, its charging cable, my phone, and its charging cable. It'd be nice to bring the case as well, but I know in a pinch, I can work with just those 4 things in my possession. And that helps me mentally and physically declutter my desk, especially if I'm visiting family and working from home at that time, because at Bywater, we can travel around a little bit when needed and still do our day-to-day jobs.
Well, for me, I think, in terms of minimalism, I agree, a laptop is kind of an essential tool for me. I can do my entire job from a nice tiny laptop, which is what I have, and it fits into a nice tiny little backpack, so I can do it anywhere. The other piece for me too is my phone. It's a great tool to be able to use if I'm not using my laptop. Also, I am a notebook and pen kind of girl, so I also walk around with a notebook and pen in my bag. So if I have a laptop, a notebook and pen, and my phone, I can do 90% of my job, and it's pretty awesome.
I'm going to jump in and say I am ditto to the first tool, actually all three, because we can work essentially anywhere with our laptops, and our phone can be a hotspot if we need connectivity. And the notebook and pen is, I do not leave home without it, because this is my day-to-day life of what needs to go on. If I'm on the phone with somebody or I'm doing something, I can jot it down. And really the one thing I love about this notebook is like, I can look back and say, okay, I remember talking to somebody, or I remember doing something on this day, and I can go back and kind of like look at my daily journal. And that's one thing I appreciate about this, especially working from home, because some days just mesh together.
Mm-hmm. And for
Yeah,
me, I'd consider, Robin, you go first.
Oh, I was just going to add the notebook and pen thing is a really nice tool to have. And there are so many new, we talk about productivity, and there are methods and ways to do your notebooks and write in your notebooks so it's more productive, a more effective use of your time, and more task oriented, depending on the kind of notebook you want to take and how you want to do that. So it's really a tried and true method of keeping things and organizing things, in not only in the old days but in the current days as well.
Yeah.
I feel like the notebook is a nice add-on for me, so I definitely put it in the it sometimes certainly helps my productivity group. Are there any other tools you two use that would fit into it helps my productivity to hit that 100% mark when working through the day?
Well, I think about, because a lot of my work is digital, so I'm on my laptop pretty much all the time. So I will get into software. There's certain kinds of software that's really good for me to use, depending on my style. And most recently, I started using workflowy software, which really reminds me of the notebook and the pen setup, and it's very close to what I like to do. So so there's a variety of productivity tools or software that really helps to organize and structure the things that I need to do on a day-to-day basis. And off the top of my head, workflow is the one that really kind of brings a lot of things together in terms of just note taking if I'm on my laptop and I'm not on my notebook. I think that's a nice tool that really helps to move my day along pretty seamlessly.
Mine would be Toggle, which is some online software to help like keep track of what you're spending your time on. And I find it super helpful because, when you're in a physical building and, you have your tasks or your workflows that you're doing in the office, you can kind of hold yourself accountable because you know what you're going to be doing. Where at home, you're in an office, maybe by yourself, probably by yourself, and you're just sticking to a list of things that you have to do. So it's easy to like stick into one spot or take too much attention into one thing, and Toggle really helps me like narrow down like where I'm spending too much time, and helps me like at the end of the week say, okay, I had a balanced week, or okay, I spent way too much time here. And it really helps me, especially, I don't want to say that we're isolated, but like when you're working from home by yourself and you don't have like colleagues standing right next to you, it's a nice way to kind of like take a step back and look at what you've accomplished during the week.
I think that's a nice transition into our next slide. And this one's titled Ritual. And in psychology, rituals sometimes used to describe a behavior that's systematically used by a person. Maybe it's used to help reduce their anxiety, or I've especially seen it like come up with a ritual for going to bed so you can diminish your screen time and fall asleep more easily. And I'd say that this situation isn't routine. The three of us are routinely used to work from home, but probably not a lot of the people who will be watching this video. And it's a break in their routine. So I like the word ritual here just to imply that there can be a specific action, and it doesn't matter where you're doing it, but it has significance to you and it helps you throughout your day kind of punctuate it. Like for the start of my day, I always have a cup of tea that I've made. and I've got loose leaf tea, and I pour it, and I get to add cream to it. And for me, that means my day has actually started. I'm very sad when I don't already have that cup of tea and I have to jump into a Zoom meeting.
Well, what I was going to say is that there were times when I worked from home prior to COVID that one of the rituals that I developed was actually going out and getting a cup of tea, because I'm a tea drinker, so I drink a lot of tea. So you wake up, get up, do your morning ritual, get dressed, and go out and stop at the coffee shop, get a cup of tea, a bagel or whatever, and then come back home. And so when I return home, it's very much I've arrived at the office. And so that ritual was really nice. With COVID, I don't do that so much, but I still do my usual morning routine, which is get up, get prepared, get dressed, have breakfast, and then head into the office kind of idea. And I think it's really helpful to put you into the mindset of what it is you're doing and the fact that you're starting your work day. And I think that's important because, in the space we're in right now, where everyone is remote and working from home, that line can be blurred, and you can suddenly don't know where your day starts or ends, and it just become one big thing. So I think it really helps to have a routine that, and if you can pull the routine similar to what you used to do prior to working from home, then that I think puts you into that mind space, into that mindset that, oh, you know what, I'm starting my day. It's Monday morning, and this is what I did on Monday mornings. I modify it today because it's a different context we're in, but I still have something that is a ritual that I do for myself to get me into the mindset that I need to be in.
One thing that I can share is I have a dog, and he's been with me for the last 11 years. So before I was working from home, and I take him for a walk every morning, even, weekends, weekdays, go into the office, take him for a nice long walk. And it's so easy that when you're at home, you can say, oh, let me go check my emails first and I'll walk him later. And then you realize that it's 12 o'clock and he never went for a walk. So that is one thing, is like starting that morning and being able to take him for a walk, before that starts, whether it's yoga or, if you don't have a dog or a cat or whatever you do to, take your time, just doing something, going for a run, whatever it may be, to start that day off.
I like it as a good punctuation, all of the different things we're doing. And I'd say another good punctuation for the day is how to get my energy level back up. Maybe it's after lunch, maybe it's after a marathon set of meetings. Yesterday was like 5 different meetings of all variable lengths, and I'm not entirely sure what I did between them, but at the end of that, I put on some of the music that I really like listening to while I'm working. And that got me through the last couple of hours and kept me from completely getting zoned out after that interpersonal marathon and being on camera all day, it felt like. What do you do to keep yourselves motivated if you feel yourself kind of spacing out in the confines of your house?
Go for a run.
Well, I have a toddler, so that helps. And if you have a toddler out there, you know that that's a nice break, and helps to get your energy back up. And if you don't have a toddler, I think, in the middle of the day, whether I was working from home or working in the office, sometime around 2 in the afternoon, you're ready to take a break and relax. And usually you either go for a walk or go get something to drink, or just get a break in some way. So I think, to get my energy back up, I listen to music as well. So maybe I'll have a little internal dance party, but, which I also did in the office, which was fun. So that kind of brings energy back up for the rest of the afternoon, which I think is nice and good.
How old is your toddler? I have a 2-year-old.
He's turning literally 16 months tomorrow. Yeah, he's a bundle of joy.
Yes.
Quite honestly, he's just happy and runs around, and I'm like, okay, I could take a break. Why not? We can go play with some cars or something.
I I agree 100%. Sometimes it's nice, like when you're sucked in or you've been, sitting for like an hour and a half and you need to get up. It's a great escape to just walk
Mhm.
away for a couple minutes, get some
Yeah,
affection, and come back.
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. It's a good pick me up, especially in this time where so much bad is happening right now. It's good to have good happening at the same time.
So, what do you do to help wind down your day after the 2 o'clock slump and coast it out to a successful finish?
Well, I think to get it, that depends. I am somewhat of a workaholic, but that depends on my goals for the day and what I'm trying to accomplish. There's also very much, there comes the moment when it's just stop. Um, but to wind down is really just making sure that I've kind of responded to what I needed to respond to, and I have set my projects, they're all at a good stopping place. And I think that's important because you're not going to get everything done, and you can make a decision to say this is the stopping place. Also, the other part I think about is that sometimes you need to work your hours, and what that means is that if you're working, I do 9:30 to 5:30. I generally work till 6 anyway. That's just the way I've been. And, so around 5:30 or 5, you're like, okay, my day is winding down. What do I need to wrap up? Who do I need to get in touch with? Because it is 5. Some people leave at 5. Some people leave at 5:30. Some people leave at 6. Um, were there people that I needed to deal with, or issues I need to resolve before the day comes to a complete end? And just have a systematic way of doing that, because it's important to say you have a stopping point. Even if you end up working later or anything like that, this is my work hours. And I think that's important to get, to say these are my hours. I work 9:30 to 5:30. I work 9 to 5. And there's flexibility in there, and what your flexibility is. But it's good to say those are my hours, and at 5:30 I'm shutting down for the evening, and everybody knows I'm shutting down for the evening, and that's agreed on. If I am needed for longer, then we know that, and we can plan for that. But I make sure that I know that when am I stopping, and I am stopping, and that's it. And that's the end of the work day. um, and I think that's important, to make sure that you have your own time and process for stopping. Like you have a process for starting, you should have a process for stopping.
Yeah, I agree 100%. And even if it's like turning your phone notifications off or making sure your computer is shut down so you can't sneak in to look at another email, you need that time to separate. And those are two things that have helped me, because in the beginning when I started working from home, I was always checking emails, like sneaking back in to look, checking my phone, and sometimes it just disrupts everything. So, just taking that time to turn off notifications could be a huge savings.
Mhm. My personal phone, I get calls and have the apps installed for work on it. And I like that I only have to carry around one phone. Um, but I do get the notifications into the later day. For me, I close all my tabs. I just wipe out all the apps, turn them off on my computer, usually restart it or shut it down. But it's just, I have closed my primary browser. I've closed my internet, I've closed my chats, I've signed myself off of our chat, and that is the signal, whatever the time it is, but I am done now because I've physically closed it. Can't go back in and sneaking on what I was doing. And um, like Robin said, you don't always get done and rarely get done everything you aspire to get done in a given day. And if I leave it open and then I come to it the next day and I spend so much time trying to figure out what I was last doing at 4:30, 5:30 the previous day, no, just start it up with a clean slate and shut it down at the end of the day so I can have a clean slate for tomorrow. And that's how I close up shop at the end of my day, whenever time that ends up happening. So tip number 3, creativity. Get creative. As we said, this is not a routine experience for a lot of people, and it's a transition even if you're deliberately opting to work from home. And I'd like to know what ways you've customized your workspace and solved some of the problems that come with working in the same place you're living in.
So I have a variety of things I do. I am very much laptop focused. So I like being mobile. So in terms of my workspace, and there's two things. I used to have an office that has transitioned now. So we're working on our office space and a shift in that. But for the kind of work that I do, I think what's important for me to have is a really comfortable place I can sit and a really solid surface where I can rest my laptop. So in some cases, and that can change. So I work in different spaces for different reasons. So I'm kind of a person who moves around the house a lot when I'm working. But I like being able to say, okay, I do this type of work in this type of space. And so I organize that space appropriately. That is, so if I'm doing, and I can break it down a little bit. So if I need to really do some writing and really focused writing, I'm working on an article or I'm working on a documentation or any kind of writing where I'm just sitting there writing, I'm usually in a nice, comfy, plush little seating arrangement with my laptop, nice blankets, a nice, very comfortable kind of space. But if I'm doing more web work and, building sites, doing digitization work or doing any of that kind of work, I'm usually seated on my office chair at my desk and at my table with a really nice situated space for that. And if I'm doing work that somehow falls in between that, so I have, certain kinds of work are like mouse work and certain kinds of work are typing work, and some work falls somewhere in the middle of that kind of work. I use different spaces for that, but I shift between basically really plush. I just like have my legs stretched out. I have a nice blanket, a very specific type of blanket. And I'm just like, and then I go deep because I know I don't have any meetings coming up. I'm really focused on this document so I can sit there for an hour and be comfortable and knock something out. And, so those are the kind of customizations I do, particularly since even when I had an office space that's like a dedicated office space, I still did that. So I try to organize my office and my home depending on my context and what I need it for. So when I need to do a certain kind of work, I have a space for that. When I need to do a different kind of work, I have a space for that.
Very nice.
Yeah, those are some good tips.
And Jesse, you are the one among us to claim a coworker that you share an office space with, but you're both working from home.
Yeah. So over my period of time, like working from home, this is the first time I've ever had like a dedicated space where I'm either like not in a bedroom or not in a like living room / area. And so we're in a room where we're out from anywhere else, but my partner also works from home. So there are sometimes challenges where like we each may have a call or a webinar at the same time. So, giving space to each other. We're lucky that we do have another location in our house that one of us can, move to if we overlap. But one thing that I always do is I make sure that I have like just a clean space. And it sounds so simple, but like having a clean table or a clean coffee table or a counter space is always like the first thing that I do. If there's, junk laying around, I make sure I clear it off and I have a good space to, lay down my booklet again and have somewhere, enough room that I can have my laptop. And if I have my keyboard and mouse, that I can bring that into. So clean space is like my tip.
Mhm. When I first started working for Bywater, I arranged the desks that my partner and I had in our one-bedroom apartment so that they kind of just stuck out into the middle of the living room, and I had a wall behind me. So I had just, a little narrow pocket that I'd sit in, and I could decorate the wall behind me with whatever I felt like. And I even had a whiteboard, and I'd write messages on it. And that was just fun and a way for me to interact with the people I was video chatting with. We've moved, switched states, and lived for a little time with my partner's family. And they've got a great, nice big house, and they are loud. And that was a big new work from home experience, is having all the noise of more people around all day. And even though there was a library, there's absolutely no way for me to work in there because just the sound would travel because there wasn't a closed door, even though it was the dedicated kind of working home space there. And then there was the how do I divide my own little space when I was in a smaller bedroom and give my partner and everyone in the house privacy. And so we built a screen. So there's been a few jokes that the screen follows me around no matter where I am with my coworkers in Zoom. And I usually just keep it up behind me because it's a nice backdrop. And since he still lives with me and he wants his privacy and the space is just all kind of open concept, it's a good way to give yourself a little cubicle. If you can rig up a screen or partition an area, even if it's just half the dining room table, which is exactly the case right now.
A sheet, whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Big backdrop.
And you can do green screen effects on it. I'm not going to because I don't have any good ones, but I have definitely put on a blue shirt and this, and you just see a floating head. Fun times.
Awesome.
Mm-hmm. So communication, that's really the name of the game, I think, when it comes to working from home. It's what you're going to see all the other blog posts and videos about working from home talking about, is how do you still stay connected with your colleagues when you're all working remotely? And I think at Bywater, we do an excellent job of that. Staying engaged with each other, being able to share jokes or weird green screen effects is one of the ways that we keep each other laughing and in good humor even while we're working. And it's a good way for our colleagues to practice using tools like Zoom, doing some fun stuff with them. Because I know Zoom and a few of those other tools for teleconferencing and stuff are pretty novel to some people out there. And just figuring out the mic and the video and all that good stuff can be a bit of a challenge. So I'd say practice makes perfect there.
I can't agree more. Like the video sharing and just being able to communicate when, you're home by yourself and being able to like still talk with them is almost a morale booster for you too. There's sometimes during the day where like, I may have been sitting here for like 2 hours working on something on the website or just got finished with a training and you need to decompress. It's so, so important to like engage, with your colleagues, just to like, we always joke about like water cooler talk. We don't get it. Cooler. Yeah. We don't get that because we're not standing next to each other, but we can absolutely do it with, other tools for communication. So it's totally critical. Like, don't feel bad that you're just pinging one of your colleagues, just to talk. You need that, you need that release.
Yeah, I will add, having a chat option available to you is really helpful. And even, throughout my career, that chat option has made a huge difference. I started in development, and it was a big deal for and I'm in tech, software development, and so it's kind of a nice tool when chat came to be, that you're like, oh, we can actually talk to each other without really interrupting each other. And today when we think about communicating and just being in touch with people, chat is a really immediate kind of way to get in touch with someone and to get feedback or talk to them. So And if you have a setup with your team, you can simply chat and say hello or what's going on or what's up, and it's a nice relief from your day, especially if you're focusing on something and you need a break. You can just have a nice chat with your coworkers, and that's really beneficial, and it makes you feel connected to what you're doing and your work and the people who you're working with. So I can't stress how important it is to communicate with your coworkers.
Another thing that we do, and I don't know if it's that we joke about this, like when we have our weekly team meetings, we always say, is your bus buddy here? And so each of us have like a partner or somebody that we talk with routinely, that we make sure that they're at the meeting, or like if they're still on a call or whatever it is, so we can like keep them in up to date with, like, if they miss something, we can fill them in. And so I think that's, even though we say we joke about being best buddies, I kind of love it because, we can just like touch base with them if we missed a meeting, or if we weren't at work that day, we were out traveling. As Margaret said, sometimes we go out and travel. It's a good way to have somebody to check back in with.
Mm-hmm. And when you have 20 odd people or more in a video conference session, even if you can see an image from every single participant, they get pretty small on the screen. So, everybody looking out for at least one or two other people, members of their department, to check we're all here. Really helpful because kind of in our previous slides, you're working on focusing on solving these problems, and there's no one going to come by and tap you on the shoulder and saying, we're all meeting in room 3 now. You have to rely on your notifications, your tools to remind you what's going on in your day. Or your colleague says, hey, do you remember? Here's the link to the Zoom meeting, or here's the conference phone number. We're in the meeting now, or we're going to be in the meeting in 5 minutes, and that can be really helpful. And it comes down to you're not alone. And I feel a great sense of community working with Bywater, and I love sharing that community with our partners, the ones that regularly chat with us or that we meet with every month, every couple of weeks, to check in about Koha, but also about what's going on in the world of our libraries, in the software realm too, and confirming, how are you doing? Are your questions getting met, needs met? And that's really the meat and bones of my job, is making sure people can articulate their needs to me and I can get them the resources they need. And also checking in on them if I haven't heard from them a while. Some people can definitely get tunnel vision, like, this is my laptop, I'm going to work right now, and kind of forget to reach out. So it's good when you can give them a tap on the shoulder digitally and see, how you doing? It's been a little while since I've heard from you. Do you want any help with the project? And tip number 5, and this one I think is, once you've gotten all the other ideas down, you got to think about yourself and do those self-checks. As much as you're communicating with partners, with your coworkers, and sharing what you're learning, what you're doing, making sure everybody knows what projects are getting done and what work still needs to be done. Taking a few minutes to check that you've been reaching your goals and checking in on yourself. How am I doing in my workspace? Is very, very important to make sure you're not feeling isolated from the community of people you're working with, or just the community you're in.
Yeah, I will definitely have to agree with that. And goals are important. I think goals are kind of critical for everything to happen and to work and to get things done. So you have to set goals. And I like, be ambitious, but also give yourself achievable goals each day. What do you need to achieve today to feel you're successful? And this is not any different from setting goals at work before you worked from home. So it's trying to set those same goals, and, keep in mind that, yes, you are working from home, so things may have been adjusted, but be flexible. And thinking about the self-care aspect of this, it does change the way you think about things and the way you do things. And depending on your own context and your own situation, there are different parameters at play in terms of what you can do and what you can accomplish. And so you want to be able to say, I have set achievable goals. I'm being rational about this. And if you don't know, and I like the idea of having a buddy, chat with your buddy and say, am I being rational about this? Or even if you're also working with someone who's working from home, if there are two of you in the office, you may not do the same job or in the same company or anything like that, but there are times when you can say, can you help me think through this thing or this problem, and really being mindful of that. I think that's important. But having a coworker too to say, can I bounce this off of you? Because you would have done the same if you were in the office. You might have just showed up in the office and gone to their desk and say, hey, I'm thinking about X. And that person would be able to help you because you have that person. And so you have to think about, how do you do that from home? And, do you have that person that you can just chat randomly with and say, hey, is this goal achievable in the time span that I have? That person knows your work ethic. Or, am I, the way I'm thinking about working from home, how is it working for you? And I think that's the other part of this conversation as well, is to talk to others about how they are dealing with working from home, to talk to your coworkers about the way they're adjusting and what's working for them and what's not working for them. Because for some people, they'll be, this is fine, this is great, I'm adjusting really well. And for some people, it's, a complete life change that they have to really think of mentally and, put themselves into a new space to really adjust to it. And depending on the job, libraries in particular, some of the jobs are very physically oriented. You need to be in the building, you need to be in the stacks, you need to touch the books. And so even for my job, we're currently doing a digitization project, and some of it we can get done remotely. We can do QC, we could do a lot of things. We can build a website, we can do a lot of things remotely. There's certain things we just can't do remotely. We have to do it in person with the physical object. And so you have to negotiate that and say, okay, what aspect of this project can I get done? And what aspect is COVID-19 waiting? And the aspect that's COVID-19 waiting, I'm going to put that on a list of, when we're back in the building, I will do X. And, but for now, the goals I set are very focused on the remote aspect, with the idea that there are certain things that can only be done when you're in the physical building. So I do think thinking about that as well is really valuable, because then you can organize your time appropriately, and you're not going to be stressed out about the fact that you can't physically do a certain thing. You look at your job, you look at all the tasks or activities that you need to do, and identify what is easily transitioned into a remote environment and what is not, and then make decisions in that way. And I think that really helps you to be kind of mindful of your work, and also mindful of how you approach your work as well.
Robin, I think that was a perfect transition into the next point, which is self-care.
Yes.
I mean, they're just a perfect transition. Like, people often forget to step away, to go eat lunch, to take a break, go get some coffee, go get some tea, go get your water. Mm-hmm. And that's one thing you have to be mindful of. I can say, like, there was a period of time where I would just grab a t-shirt, get dressed and go down. And I started, like, every day, I have all these wonderful outfits that I would wear to work all the time. I'm going to keep wearing them, putting on earrings. Now, today I will say I have my running clothes on because I am going running as soon as we finish our webinar. So, you have to set those goals and remember to take care of yourself because it's so important. I feel better the days that I get dressed up. I don't know what it is, but it just makes me feel better that like I'm getting dressed up, I'm going to work, you know, and doing your thing. So the littlest of things like really helps. Even depending on the weather, taking a walk in the middle of the day just makes a whole world of a difference.
And building in those routines, especially if you're used to a more physical job, like you said, if you're used to doing a lot of physical work in the libraries, interacting with people, moving materials, items around, it is really weird transition for you physically to suddenly have a lot less things to move and space to move around in. So self-care and reflection on that can be, how can I achieve the physical activity that I want and that I'm accustomed to, as well as the treats or comforts. Do I want to wear comfier clothes, dress up clothes? How does that affect my mood? Taking the time when you start working from home and periodically throughout is critical to saying, why am I doing some of these activities? What benefits am I getting? Is it actually stressing me out a little bit? I can just imagine if you're not keeping a good list of the COVID-19 pending things, that stuff weighs on your mind if you don't have a place to put it. And you might not have thought, I need to put this in a specific place with a date on it to check back on, maybe before you listen to this presentation. That is one of those things that's going to give you a stress nightmare, and you'll wake up wondering why on earth I was thinking about that all night. And then maybe not start out the day on that bright, exciting, fresh slate that you wanted to.
I'll just throw in, that's what the notebook and pen is for.
Mm-hmm.
If it's in your head and it's stressing you out, write it down somewhere. Whether you type it up in a notepad or you write it down with a pen and paper, you get it out of your head, you get it into a physical form, it will manifest itself, and it will provide you less stress. And less stress makes you better, and that's an important piece of self-care, because there's a lot of things that's very stressful right now, and there's a lot of stress in work in general. The things you can do to reduce your stress will make you better, will make you happier, and it will also make you healthier. So the other thing I think about in terms of self-care is, time for reflection. You should take it, you figure it out, you schedule it the same way you schedule everything else, and say, you know what, I'm going to take the time to reflect on what's happening. I'm going to give my mind some time to break, and writing things down helps with that, going for a walk or whatever it is that makes you feel like you have given your mind some relaxation. And relaxation really helps when you come back to a problem that you're working on or an issue that you're working on. You are very clear about what's happening or what's going on. So self-care, yes, always. Schedule it if you have to.
Very good point. So we do have a couple of bonus tips, even though the title side said 5. And the first bonus tip is add a plant. We're all kind of stuck in a smaller indoors environment, but a few of us love houseplants. And I kind of have ritualized grabbing one of my little houseplants, and it becomes my buddy for the day. And I know if I look at it, I smile. This one is a little propagation of an echeveria, because it just started out as a leaf, but it grew into this nice, adorable pot. And I can just reflect on, start out small, or maybe a leaf that was broken off and it made me sad, but now it's grown into something adorable that cheers me up. And that's my feeling about houseplants, and I have a few too many of them.
Ditto. Margaret and I, that's our one little escape. Every week we talk about our houseplants. This is a little jade propagation, and one of our that we make, that we paint, and we use some seashells to jazz them up. So Margaret and I always like to have that little conversation every week to check in and see how our houseplants are doing.
Mm-hmm. Bringing the outdoors in with those seashells too.
That sounds very nice. My plant is really big. So it's a very nice plant. It has bring us great joy over the years. So we're very happy about it. It's it's a fern, and we got it for like Christmas one year. So we're like traveling with it, and now it has grown so big, and it's just our plant. It's amazing.
And also, as a bonus tip, give yourself rewards. We've talked about setting goals. What rewards do you give yourself when you've achieved them? Even the small ones. Give yourself that dopamine injection to brighten up your day, make you feel accomplished.
I'm a firm believer in ice cream. So um, if you are a believer in ice cream too, ice cream is a great reward. Not only is it just sugar mostly, which is good and bad in its own way, but the idea of just ice cream, it could be anything. It could be a healthy snack, it could be a snack, it could be a walk, whatever it is that you think is a reward. That's what you plan to give yourself, and you should always give yourself rewards. There's no reason not to give yourself rewards. And the reason you do rewards, there are a couple of benefits to this. And one is that you you force yourself to say, I am doing a task, or I'm trying to accomplish a goal. I've accomplished that goal. Let me stop and acknowledge that. And so a reward, it's, so you've given yourself a reward at the end of that accomplishment. And a lot of times what we do is we accomplish all sorts of goals. We just never stop and say, holy crap, I accomplished this. And at some point we look back and see that. But if you do it when you do accomplish it, then you actually stop for a moment and reflect, and the reward says, oh, this is great, this is success, this is what success feels like. If I want to eat more ice cream, I should accomplish more goals. And I think that is good. And especially if you're working on a project and you're in it for hours and days and weeks, and and then eventually you finish it, and then maybe the finish is not that, everyone stops and cheers like you walk into the bar. The finish is just kind of anticlimactic. For you can create that climax that you want. You can say, you know what, when I finish this, not only am I going to just really take stock of it, I am going to celebrate this thing. And you can decide what that celebration is. And that's why you give yourself rewards. And it's a motivator. So like the second thing, it's a motivator for you to do the things that you want to do. So if you want to, finish this project or go for a run or whatever it is, and you've been struggling to do it, you simply set a reward. What is the benefit to you? What is the dopamine hit you can get when you finish this goal that you've set for yourself, when you finish this task? And you work towards that task. And when you finish that task and you have that ice cream, it will be the best ice cream ever. So you don't have to use ice cream, but all I'm saying, dulce de leche is a delicious ice cream. If you ever want to have some, go for it. But I think rewards really make a difference in terms of your understanding of what you're doing, and acknowledging your own success and seeing that you have accomplished something.
So we want to close out on a little quote that kind of reflects that this can be a very exciting, new, challenging experience, but it really comes down to what you make of it. And the whole value of solitude depends on oneself. It might be a sanctuary, or it might be a prison, a haven of repose, or a place of punishment, a heaven or hell, as we ourselves make it. And I'm like to think I've crafted a good work at home environment for myself to stay productive, and I really enjoy it, and look forward to coming to work every day. And it has taken time to get to that point. It was definitely a transition when I started And that's part of the process, and taking time to appreciate that and know that you have to be deliberate about it. I think it's a good reminder for people who are just starting out, knowing that they can do more with this situation, especially when so much of it is outside their control, when you have a global pandemic going around and changing how people can socialize and interact and what spaces they can occupy. This is a space where you have some control.
Excellent. Well, Robin, thank you so much for joining Margaret and I today to speak a little bit about your working from home experience and providing some really great and insightful tips for, making a better work-home life balance. You shared some wonderful tips, and I am going to have some ice cream next time I go to the grocery store.
Awesome.
We need that.
Awesome. Yes, we do.
I have some frozen yogurt in the fridge, and you have just got me craving it so much right now. I need to go have that as soon as we're done recording.
Yes.
See, I feel very successful already.
Yeah.
I've convinced you guys to have some ice cream to reward yourselves.
Yeah.
Oh, definitely. That has to be the reward at the end of this video.
Yes. Yes.
And all of you out there, go get some ice cream to reward yourself for this continuing education video.
That's right.
That's right.
This has been great. Thank you guys for inviting me. This has been so wonderful. I really appreciate talking about this stuff. It's fun. I enjoy it. And I love working from home. So any tips, anytime. Cool.
Awesome. Thank you both. Margaret, thank you. Robin, thank you so much.